ॐ निरञ्जनम् नित्यमनन्तरूपम् भक्ताधृतविग्रहम् ईशावतारम् परमेशमेड्यम् तनुरामकृष्णम् शिरसा नमामः।
Namaste everyone and welcome to our study of the Vedanta lectures of Swami Vivekananda. We are studying his lecture, The Vedanta, delivered in Lahore in 1897. We're coming to the end of the study. So far, I think we have spent about 6 or 7 weeks, and all these teachings, for the benefit of those who are coming in new, are available in our courses where the audio and the video are also entered. But there's something interesting we have put just this week. You see, in every course lesson, you'll have a audio reader like this, which will read this whole page for you in English. You can adjust the speed, you can adjust the volume, but the most interesting thing is you can change the language that you want. And here you see Bengali, Cantonese, Chinese, Danish, altogether about 40 languages is given, including Maori. So that's interesting for someone who wants to listen to the Vedanta lectures in their mother tongue. It takes a little time to convert it, but it's pretty good, very fluent, and you will see the text in that particular language as well as the audio. So this is a new feature that will be available across all the courses and all the lessons, the current ones and the ones we'll put in future. With that introduction to the new feature, let us continue from where we left. And we were discussing this ideas, the practical application of Vedanta in our everyday life. Swami Vivekananda put a lot of emphasis. He did not on the practical application of Vedanta. He did not teach Vedanta for the sake of preaching a philosophy as an intellectual thing for the intellectual people who want to understand the meaning and purpose of life and to practice the Jnana Yoga path of it. He wanted that practical teachings come out of the mountain caves and the forest and become a common property of everyone. He would say, let the fisherman become a better fisherman by being a Vedantin. Let a shopkeeper be a better shopkeeper. What he meant was that Vedanta, the core principles of Vedanta are two pillars, if you can keep them in mind. One, the divinity of man, that behind this external physical human being, there is a divine being, the Supreme Brahman or the Atman, present in each and every one of us, potentially. And so we are not on the physical or the intellectual or the emotional or moral, but fundamentally we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Many of you would have come across that expression. But how do we put that into practice? So first we start with ourselves because what we see out depends on how we perceive ourselves, whether it's people or God. Swami Yatishwaranand says, man's conception of God depends on his conception of himself. If he sees himself as a spiritual being, to such a person, God is also a spiritual being. And the second principle is oneness of existence. So first one is divinity of man, and second is oneness of existence. It's not that I am only divine. It definitely makes us feel very good to hear about the wonderful powers that are within us, each and every one of us. And in spite of all our shortcomings in our everyday life, that we are essentially eternal, immortal, infinite existence, knowledge, bliss, purity, beauty, freedom, goodness, all those divine qualities really, which we normally superimpose or think of belonging to some God out there, really belongs or is the Swabhava. Swabhava means the essential nature, that which cannot be taken away from us. And that is the Swabhava of the Atman, each and every one of us. That is very nice and very refreshing to hear about that if somebody talks about it. But it is even nice, it's not that just we are divine, everyone else is divine, equally divine. And Swamiji, in the last talk, or last week, we referred to a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Samam pashyan hi satra, or iheva terjita sargo, yesham samme sthidamana, nirdosham hi samam brahma, tasmat brahmani te sthitha. That means a person here, even in this body, iha eva. Iha means here. Eva means verily, even when he is dwelling in the body. Terjita sargo. He goes beyond all relativity. Who goes? Yesham samme sthitam mana. The person whose mind dwells in that oneness, not in conceptual, intellectual understanding, but as an experience. So, how we raise our mind to that experience where these names and forms, the facade of names and forms disappear, and that underground, eternal, spiritual being of the nature of pure consciousness, that is the undifferentiated reality in which our ego also merges. All waves disappear from our view when we dive into the ocean. So no more swimming on the surface, no more snorkeling, but scuba diving. That type of capacity is to be developed or experienced. And then we come back to the surface again. Then out of that experience, we are aware and very strong, abiding, unshakable, not understanding and experience is there that, yeah, the names and forms are only the superficial things. Outside, we are young and old, male and female, black, brown, white, belonging to different nationalities or professions, blah, blah, blah. But within each one of us is that same water, same H2O, same consciousness. And ultimately, that consciousness alone is the permanent reality. The ocean alone is the permanent reality. Waves appear and disappear. They exist because the ocean exists. The ocean can exist even without the waves, but not vice versa. And when we are grounded in that understanding and we see the whole world in the light of that Vedantic insight, our eyes will show the names and forms. Our mind, conditioned minds, will show us differentiated beings. But through the spiritual understanding, the eye of knowledge, Jnana Chakshu, we see and understand that there is a something more profound, more universal, one behind the many. That experience of Advaita, the oneness, Swamiji wanted to bring out in this everyday life. So that's the theme. Actually, he gave 4 lectures called Practical Vedanta in England, London, and paid a lot of attention about how to apply that in our everyday life. It should not just be part of our studies and intellectual discourse and philosophizing. No, it should become part of our thoughts, words, and deeds regarding ourselves and our interaction with others. So, and Swamiji understood the tremendous power of that philosophy, and he wanted to leverage that and use it for the awakening of India. That was a task he was given. So, and we talked about that. So here he will continue from here, making practical Advaita practical, materially, intellectually, spiritually for all. I think we read this, but it's good to do a little bit of revision here. So just to have that continuity. Let me read, but please feel free to ask questions at any point. This is teaching on the practical side. Believe, therefore, in yourselves, and if you want material wealth, work it out on the material plane. It will come to you. If you want to be intellectual, work it out on the intellectual plane, and intellectual giants you shall be. And if you want to attain freedom, work it out on the spiritual plane, and free you shall be, and shall enter into nirvana or the eternal bliss. But the one defect which lay in the Advaita was its being worked out so long on the spiritual plane only and nowhere else. So, prior to Swami Vivekananda coming, all these scriptures, Upanishads were being studied, but they mostly studied by the monks in ashramas in the Himalayas, uh, and maybe by philosophers in universities. But the common people, uh, it was not so systematically available to them, because one of the language, secondly Sanskrit, and secondly they were busy or kept sort of in the dark. Priestcraft and all that would be rampant, superstitions and everything caught in the rituals and ceremonies. So Swamiji wanted to bring that pure knowledge of the Vedanta, Advaita, into everyday life of people, and thus remove the darkness of ignorance. Now the time has come when you have to make it practical. It shall no more be a rahasya, a secret. It shall no more live with monks in caves and forests and in the Himalayas. It must come down to the daily, everyday life of the people. It, it shall be worked out in the palace of the king, in the cave of the recluse. It shall be worked out in the cottage of the poor, by the beggar in the street, everywhere, anywhere. It can be worked out. Therefore, do not fear whether you are a woman or a Shudra, for this religion is so great, says Lord Krishna, that even a little of it brings a great amount of good. Why would Swamiji talk about this, whether you are a woman or a Shudra? You see, there was a time when people, the custodians of the scriptures, would say that the Vedanta or the Upanishads should not be heard by the lower castes. It should not even be heard by the women. It was to be studied only by the Brahmins. And as a result, it became very, very exclusive, and people did not have access to that. So here Swamiji says, break all bonds. Don't put any limitation. It should be universal. Not only so much so that he went even out of India to the Western world, and he broadcast the religion, the teachings to anyone and everyone. He worked so hard that his whole physical body sort of broke down at the age of 39. Before 40, he passed away, attained samadhi. But his one goal was to make this available to anyone and everyone. And that is why, in different ways, we are even trying that, whether it's traveling to different parts of the world and starting centers and using technology to talk about and preach the Vedanta on YouTube or various social media platforms, or even just like we said today, we made it available in all 40 different languages on our website. The idea is that this truth is not an exclusive property of any particular religion or particular country or particular class of people. It is the truth of each and every one of us, and therefore it should not be kept away from them, hidden from them. So this is the great contribution of Swami Vivekananda. But he didn't want to just share the philosophy part of it. He wanted to make it apply, make it workable in the society. And since he was given this task of awakening this country, India, which had been downtrodden for a couple of centuries by the British, so much so that they lost so much faith in themselves and in their own religion and everything, and were imitating the West so much. He's trying to use this Advaita teaching to inspire the people, to awaken them. It doesn't have to be them only, because the same truth is there in you and me. We all also have been from childhood taught many things about uh, everyone tells about your limitations. Not everyone talks about the infinite being that we are within, all of us. So we need to hear this until it drives deep into our blood and works through our actions. It should be taught to the children, to the people around, in anywhere, everywhere. Tell them the wonderful divine being within each and every one of us. So much so that Swamiji says, forget about the shortcomings of people. Call the divine in every one of us and see how it responds. And when you bring in the light, then all the darkness of ignorance and weakness and selfishness and everything disappears. So he uses this wonderful teaching, the powerful ideas of Advaita, to arouse and awaken his country. And what we see, the India today, is a result of such spiritual awakening at the core of the people, the tremendous faith they have. They can do anything. They can go to the moon. They can put spaceships. They can design anything, any technology. That is a wonderful thing. That's the idea behind the great awakening that you see in India. Therefore, children of the Aryans, do not sit idle. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Uttishthata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran Nibodhata. This is a clarion call of Swami Vivekananda that you will see. The time has come when this Advaita is to be worked out practically. So it's not only in that context, he's talking to Indians and is for the country India. It just as well applies to each and every one of us in our own personal life, in our own families, in our community, and it can awaken our this particular country also. So let us bring it down from the heaven unto the earth. This is the present dispensation. Hey, the voices of our forefathers of old are telling us to bring it down from from heaven to the earth. Let your teachings permeate the world. So this is the clarion call. Let us not say, I love Advaita, I'm studying it, it's very nice, thank you very much. I had this opportunity. Swami Sri Ramakrishna says, some people, when you give them a mango, what do? They eat the mango and then wipe their mouth, and there's no trace that they have just enjoyed the mango. Others will share it with the others. So yes, if we feel that these teachings have been so useful to us, as we will would be the experience of many of us, then we should make a little bit of that effort to share it with those around us, yeah, to your near and dear ones, anyone who you think could be benefited by it in some way or the other. So let your teachings permeate the world till they have entered into every pore of the society, till they have become the common property of everybody, till they have become part and parcel of our lives, till they have till they have entered into our veins and tingle with every drop of blood there. That means that one idea should flow uh, uh, through our thoughts, words, and deeds. And Swamiji talks about this awakening when this Atman awakens within us. So it's not just some intellectual understanding, I feel good about myself, I'm a spiritual being. The whole thought, word, deed, the energy that flows through us becomes transformed. Drooping shoulder stands up strong, ready to face any challenge that the world has to throw at it. So he talks about this particular experience he had of these people. I won't read that here because I did that last time. But in brief, he said that, when people were traveling from various parts of the world into the new land of America, coming from different countries, where they were maybe nobodies, but when they came to America and they were given, looked upon equally, respected, there was no discrimination about your food or your way how you move or work or associate with people. That mere acceptance that you are equal awakens that sleeping Atman inside of us, and that man becomes transformed and he shines, he succeeds, he does wonderful things. And he said, hey, in this country of ours, so here he starts from here. In this country of ours, the very birthplace of Vedanta, our masses have been hypnotized for ages into that state. To touch them is pollution, to sit with them is pollution. This untouchables, they were called. Lower castes, they were untouchables. And they had the same thing regarding Westerners also. They were called mlechas. Uh, Hopeless they were born, hopeless they must remain, and the result is that they have been sinking, sinking, and sinking, and have come to that last stage to which a human being can come. For what country is there in the world where man has to sleep with cattle? And for this, blame nobody else. So it's easy. They will say, okay, the British came and conquered us, this and that. In all these teachings, and remember, Swamiji preached Vedanta during the time when India was still under British rule. But throughout his lectures and talks, nowhere you see him criticizing them. He knows that no, that is not the solution to lay the blame on somebody else. It's only when we become weak that somebody else will rule over us. When we become strong, they will not be able to do so. So the solution is not to fight them, but to awaken the strength within us. And that applies to everything from a Vedantic perspective. The solution is always a subjective change. Do not try to change the world. Do not try to change the people. Change yourself. As we grow spiritually, as the light inside becomes brighter, the darkness will recede away. That is the approach. So, Swamiji says, blame nobody else. Do not commit that mistake of the ignorant. The effect is here and the cause is here too. We are to blame. Therefore, stand up, be bold, and take the blame on your own shoulders. Why? Well, how did it happen? How could a small number of people from another country come and conquer the country and rule over it? Because we are divided, we were weak, and they were easy targets. So when we become strong, they they will leave, and that's what happened. Do not go about throwing mud at others. For all the fault you suffer from, you are the sole and only cause. Very strong language. And that same thing will apply in this country also, when different communities are there. That's why this wonderful power of Advaita, if it is taken up, could do a good lot of good to any community or any society or any organization. So, what is necessary? So, Swamiji calls out again, young men of Lahore, understand this, therefore, this great sin, hereditary and national, is on our shoulders. Two things are there. It's not one belonging to one section of the country, it's a national problem. And it's inherited across many, many generations. And this is Swamiji says, it's a great sin. What is that? He says, there's no hope for us. You may make thousands of societies, 20,000 political assemblages, 50,000 institutions. These will be of no use until there is that sympathy, that love, that heart that thinks for all. Now, this is easier said than done, even for people who profess to be Advaitins and Vedantins like that. Uh, whether do you feel for others in the same way as we feel for our near and dear ones? Do you lose some sleep when you see people suffering out there, knowing that that being that dwells in me here also dwells there? And if you feel that, if ever you wanted to stretch out your arms and embrace the whole world and make them your own, that is the starting point of being an Advaitin. Advaita is not an intellectual thing. It's not an intellectual understanding of philosophy. It is more about the heart that feels that oneness. And where was that wonderful heart? Swamiji talks about Buddha's heart. Until Buddha's heart comes once more into India, until the words of Lord Krishna are brought to their practical use, there is no hope for us. You go on imitating the Europeans and their societies and their assemblages. But let me tell you a story, a fact that I saw with my own eyes. So, uh, this is in reference to what the young youth of India, the reformers, were doing at that time. There were various sects and organizations mushrooming. We had, if you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you come across all these leaders, modern day Brahmos, they were called, Arya Samajis, and uh, they were the ones who were trying to imitate the Westerns, throwing their own spiritual teachings away, saying that these were the cause of the downfall of the country and full of superstitions and this and that. And as a result, they threw the baby along with the water also. So Swamiji says, no, that the solution is not there. Don't be like monkeys imitating the Europeans or Western. The truth is within your own society, in your own sort of culture and spirituality. So he gives an example. The example is to show that how in the West people actually practice Advaita while they might not have the philosophy in terms of like, the Upanishad and things in there, but they were applying it. A company of Burmans was taken over to London by some persons here who turned out to be Eurasians. They exhibited these people in London, took all the money, and then took these Burmese over to the continent and led them there for good or evil. These poor people did not know a word of any European language, but the English consul in Austria sent them over to London. They were helpless in London without knowing anyone, but an English lady got to know of them, took these foreigners from Burma into her own house, gave them her own clothes, her bed, and everything, and then sent the news to the newspapers. And mark you, the next day, the whole nation was, as it were, roused. Money poured in, and these people were helped out and sent back to Burma. Out of On this sort of sympathy are based their political and other institutions. It is the rock foundation of love. Love here means a feeling of oneness. For themselves at least. They might not love the world, and the Burmans may be their enemies, but in England it goes without saying there is this great love for their own people, for truth and justice, and charity to the stranger at the door. I should be the most ungrateful man if I did not tell you how wonderfully and how hospitably I was received in every country in the West. Where is the heart here to build upon? So he talks about here means India. And he's talking about his own experience. Mind you, before he went to America to attend the Parliament of Religions, as a young man, after the Mahasamadhi of Sri Ramakrishna, he traveled barefoot, penniless. He took the vow not to touch money for many years, all the length and breadth of India, on foot, visiting many places of pilgrimage, meeting various kings, these kingdoms were their small kingdoms, the ministers and divans. You'll see, read this in his biography. And everywhere he went, he met all these intellectual people, well resourced people, rich people, and to them he beseeched and talked about his plans to awaken the country. He talked about starting education. He talked about giving people their lost individuality, all those things. Except for one Raja of Khetri, there was hardly any response across the whole length and breadth of country until he went right down to the southern tip of the country at the Vivekananda Rock Memorial, and he swam out to the ocean, sat on that rock for the whole night and meditated, and there he saw in his vision the future India, the India of the future. And he says there, I can see the ancient mother, rejuvenated and seated on her throne, more glorious than ever. It was not an imagination or wish, that was his foresight, his vision of the future. And today we see that. Then he went back to the mainland and he traveled up to Chennai until some young people came forward and collected some money, and decided to send Swamiji to America to represent Hinduism there. So when he says, where is that, where is it? Where is the heart here to build upon? He's talking about that experience that, look, I've traveled the length and the breadth of the country. I've talked to people who have the means and resources to come and see how we can uplift the masses. And yet no one came and helped him. But when he went to the West, he saw this wonderful sympathy, empathy for the others, where they're not really talking about Gita and Upanishad, but they were practicing it. Before that, he said the Westerners are more ready for the Vedanta because they have gone through this stage of bhoga, the enjoyments, and they have seen that side of life. They are now ready for the higher application of Vedanta. And for India, he said, no sooner do we start a little joint stock company, then we try to cheat each other, and the whole thing comes down with a crash. You talk of imitating the English and building up as big a nation as they are. But where are the foundations? Ours are only sand, and therefore the building comes down with a crash in no time. Around this time, some young people came to Swamiji and said, Swamiji, when will we get our independence? And he said, independence I can give you now, but where are the people to keep it? First, prepare the people, the leaders, and then only when it comes, you'll be able to keep it. And he said, anyway, you will get it in 50 years. And so it happened. But here, he's trying to rouse his people. And mind you, reading these lectures of Swami Vivekananda, there were many, many young people who were inspired to take up the cause of fighting or working for the freedom of the country. His books, small pocket books, were found in the pockets of many young revolutionaries, so as they were called in those days, young university students who had come across Swamiji's ideas, whether it was Netaji, Subhash Chandra Bose or Aurobindo, great people. Even Gandhi, they had read his life. It's interesting when Gandhi visited Belur Math. he went in to see the room of Swamiji. Of course, Swamiji had passed away at that time. And when he came down, people around him asked him, and he said, say something. You have come here to this wonderful place, Balur Math. And he said, uh, if you want to love India, read Vivekananda. Everything is positive. In him, everything is positive, nothing negative. So Swamiji calls out to these young people of Lahore. You see, he's not addressing older people because elsewhere he says, my faith is in the younger generation, the modern generation. Out of them will come heroes who will solve the problems like lions. Because it's not just having ideas, you need to have that energy, you need to have that enthusiasm and fire to do this type of works. Therefore, young men of Lahore, raise once more the mighty banner of Advaita. For on no other ground can you have that wonderful love until you see the same Lord present, and the same Lord is present everywhere. So this is the test of Advaita. If we like this wonderful philosophy, can we see the same Atman? Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam Ishwaram. Where do you see? Everywhere. And this is the test, every now and then we must pause and say, do I see that Atman in the black and the brown and the white, in the Kiwi and the non-Kiwi, and within the Pakeha and Maori, or among the black, the white men and female, or other genders? Yes, this is what is the underlying highest common factor, as we say, in all of us. Get hold of that, you've got them all. Advaita is that thread that runs through all the flowers and makes a beautiful garland. We don't want to have a garland with only one color flowers. A bit monotonous. You can have all the colors, but something must be common through all of them. And this divinity of man, or the presence of the same spiritual self in all, that's the thread that runs through all. If you can hold on to that, you can associate and love and deal without any unconditionally with all people. Therefore, he says, unfurl that banner of love. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Arise, arise once more, for nothing can be done without renunciation. If you want to help others, your little self must go. So that is why throughout all the scriptures, renunciation is the fundamental principle. Renunciation is the fundamental principle to practice. It doesn't mean in a very physical way that you leave your home and family and others and go into the mountain or something like that. It means giving up the selfishness, giving up small, limited, petty ideas, being unselfish, embracing the whole, not just being confined to a very small group of people, me and mine type of thing. So if you want to help others, your little self must go. In the word of the Christians, you cannot serve God and the mammon at the same time. Have vairagya. Vairagya means renunciation. Your ancestors gave up the world for uh, doing great things. At the present time, there are men who give up the world to help their own salvation. These are like talking about the monks, the traditional monks that were there at that time. If one felt the spiritual urge for moksha, they would leave the society and drift towards holy spiritual places like Kashi and Haridwar and all that, and immerse themselves into tapasya, but have nothing to do with the society. Swamiji brought a new type of monastic life. And he said, yes, go and train yourself, remain in the ashramas, but afterwards you must come back into the society and share that knowledge and wisdom and teachings to the people. And because the God that you are searching for in the mountain cave is there in front of you in all these forms. Don't seek for him, see him right in front of us in all these forms. But in the beginning, it requires some training to be able to hold on to that perspective in the midst of all challenging situations. So throw away everything, even your own salvation, and go and help others. Hey, you're always talking bold words, but here is practical Vedanta before you. Give up this little life of yours. What matters if you die of starvation? You and I and thousands like us, so long as this nation lives. It's sentences like these that inspired many monks to come and join the mission. Elsewhere he says, "You have lived many lives in the past. Give one life to me." And many people, because of their wonderful love and admiration for Swamiji, said they were not really maybe inspired so much about the mukti and this and that. I said, okay, here's something Swamiji has asked, and I love him so much. I'll give this life for his cause. Of course, they get much more in return than they give. But it's these words of inspiration that touches the hearts of many people where and spurs them to take some of the ideas of Swami Vivekananda and try to put into practice. So he says, give up this little life of yours. What matters if you die of starvation? You and I and thousands like us, so long as this nation lives. Means if the collective lives, let the individual be sacrificed. The nation is sinking. The curse of unnumbered millions is on our heads. Those to whom we have been giving ditch water to drink when they have been dying of thirst, while the perennial river of water is flowing past the unnumbered millions whom we have allowed to starve in sight of plenty, the unnumbered millions to whom we have talked of Advaita and whom we have hated with all our strength, the unnumbered millions for whom we have invented the doctrine of lokachara, usage, to whom this caste system and everything came in there, to whom we have talked theoretically that we are all the same and all are one with the same Lord, even without even an ounce of practice. So that's why he talks about practical Vedanta. Make those teachings practical. Bring that oneness. When you look upon all of everyone in front of us as divine beings. So in his teachings, he talks about, may I be born 1,000 times so that I may worship the only God I know, my God, the poor, the miserable, of all races and of all species. That is the special object of my worship. He actually forbade building of temples, so didn't want to do any, even for Sri Ramakrishna. He said, he never asked me to build any temple for him. You can have something there for as a place of your devotion, but your actual work has to be in the worship of people. Give them food, clothing, shelter, education, whatever is the need. Let work be worship. So he says, yet my friends, it must only be in the mind and never in practice. Wipe off this blot, arise and awake. What matters if this little life goes? Everyone has to die, the saint or the sinner, the rich or the poor. The body never remains for anyone. Arise and awake and be perfectly sincere. This sincerity. Our insincerity in India is awful. What we want is character, that steadiness and character that make a man cling to a thing like grim death. So, yes, what was the problem? He understood. Philosophy, we have wonderful things. Why are you not able to put into practice? And it is want of character. And he talks about how character is developed in Karma Yoga. And he talks about the need for that character building education. He was very much critical about the education system that was even is presently today in India, by which we learn some field, some degree or something to which we earn our livelihood. But it's about learning to work at the physical plane only, not at the spiritual plane. So he said, we want education. What type of education? Man making, character building education. And that comes through awakening that Atman within us. Then he's almost 2 paragraphs, yeah. So let the sages blame or let them praise. Let Lakshmi come. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. Let Lakshmi come today or let her go away. Let death come just now or in 100 years. He indeed is a sage, is the sage who does not make one false step from the right path. That is called what he said, bulldog tenacity. You give something to a bulldog, he'll hold it, you lift it, he doesn't let it go. So when you get hold of an idea, challenges will come, difficulties will come. It is the person with that character that can cleave his way through these adamantine walls, through mountains, and make a channel, cut a path. Others, those who are weak, will try to find the path of least resistance and forever getting knocked around here and there. So he wants to inspire people. This is actually a verse, a translation of a Sanskrit verse. Arise and awake, for the time is passing, and all our energies will be frittered away in vain talking. Arise and awake. Let minor things and quarrels over little details and fights over little doctrines be thrown aside. For here is the greatest of all works. Here are the sinking millions. When the Mohammedans first came into India, what a great number of Hindus we were. But mark how today they have dwindled down. Every day they will become less and less till they till they wholly disappear. Let them disappear, but with them will disappear the marvelous ideas, of which, with all their defects and all their misinterpretations, they still stand as representatives, and with them will disappear this one marvelous Advaita, the crest jewel of all spiritual thought. Therefore, arise, awake, with the hands stretched out to protect the spirituality of the world. And first of all, work it out in your own country. What we want is not so much spirituality as a little of the bringing down of the Advaita into the material world. First bread and then religion. He used to say, it's a very famous quote of Swamiji, do not preach spirituality or religion to a person on empty stomach. First give that person food, then talk about spirituality. So first bread and then religion. And you see these things are being worked out in the Ramakrishna mission, where in the early days and even now there's so much work in feeding people during distress and relief. And then a huge amount of energy is put in education across our educational institutions. And there are hundreds of them, right from kindergarten, primary school, secondary school to our own university. We have about 130,000 students, and they have been instrumental uh, in in bringing that high quality education out of which all these wonderful uh, scientists and thinkers and administrators have come and leading the country. So he says, we stuff them with too much religion when the poor fellows have been starving. No dogmas will satisfy the cravings of hunger. There are two curses here. First, our weakness, and secondly, our hatred, our dried up hearts. So that means there's no empathy for our own people. And people justify it in some way there, using their own philosophy. For example, they say, oh, that is such and such a person's karma. That's why he is suffering, or his poverty is there. It's a very interesting story. When Swamiji came away, returned from America, and many people went to meet him, there was this young man who sought his audience, and Swamiji met them, young men, yeah. And they said, Swamiji, we have come to look for some funds from you because you have come from the West, you might have brought some money. And why? We have started a society for uh, the cows that have become old, who do not give calves and don't give any milk anymore. These are mother cows. Cows are sacred and they should not be sent to the butcher. So we have set up a place where these cows will be kept until they die, and would you help us? And so Swamiji said, that's very nice, you are doing some wonderful work. But tell me, right now, there is a famine in this country, and thousands of millions of people are starving and dying. What are you doing something for them also? And this man turns around and says, no, Swamiji, but that is their karma. That is why they are suffering. And then Swamiji understood, he got really worked up. This is how people misuse the doctrines. And Swamiji said, if that is the karma of the people that they will be in hungry, then why is it not the karma of the cows that they should get, be butchered when they become old? And then that young man says, but Swamiji, They are mother cows. And Swamiji says, yes, I can see. Where else will you get such wonderful children? In a sarcastic way. So, no dogmas will satisfy the doctrine's cravings of hunger. There are two curses here. First, our weakness. Secondly, our hatred, our dried up hearts. You may talk doctrines by the millions. You may have sects by the hundreds of millions, but it is nothing until you have the heart to feel. And he himself was a wonderful example of this teaching. He had a tremendous love for people. And anywhere he saw the suffering of people, didn't have to be people of India, his heart would melt. We see these wonderful qualities in all these great teachers, whether it was Buddha or Christ, Ramakrishna. The Advaita that they had experienced made them feel and identify themselves with all. In good times and bad times, in the pain and suffering, they would also feel that. Feel for them as your Veda teaches you, till you find they are part of your own bodies, till you realize that you and they, the poor and the rich, the saint and the sinner, are all parts of the one infinite whole which you call Brahman. So, in conclusion, he says, gentlemen, I have tried to place before you a few of the most brilliant points of the Advaita system and how the time has come when it should be carried into practice. Not only in this country, but everywhere. Modern science, is beautiful language, he says. Modern science and its sledgehammer blows are pulverizing the porcelain foundations of all dualistic religions everywhere. It's beautiful prose, like flowing out of him. That's why somebody says he was an orator by divine right. And we see this in this age and time with all this quantum physics and all that what was there, challenging spirituality and religion. Modern science and its sledgehammer blows are pulverizing the porcelain foundations of all dualistic religions everywhere. Not only they have left the dualist torturing texts till they will not extend no longer, for texts are not Indian rubber, which you can pull and give any shape. It is not only here that they're trying to get into the nooks and corners to protect themselves. It's still more so in Europe and America. So, you know, and the doctrines in Christianity and others are also under the same attack of the Western science. And even there, something of this idea will have to go from India. It has already got there because he had spread a little bit of that there. It will have to grow and increase and save their civilizations too. For in the West, the old order of things is vanishing, giving away to a new order of things, which is the worship of gold, worship of mammon, money. And that's what we see here in this world. Everything is dictated by money. Thus, this old crude system of religion was better than the modern system, namely competition and gold. No nation, however strong, can stand on such foundations. And the history of the world tells us that all that had such foundations are dead and gone. And he's referring to the Greek civilization and the Roman who were great in their own time. Even this age time, Great Britain is no longer great. Others are rising in their place. So, in the first place, we have to stop the incoming of such a wave in India. Therefore, preach the Advaita to everyone so that religion may withstand the shock of modern science. Not only so, you have to help others. Your thoughts will help out Europe and America, but above all, let me once more remind you that here is need of practical work, and the first part of that is that you should go to the sinking millions of India and take them by the hand, remembering the words of Sri Krishna, Iheva terjita sargo, yesham samme sthitam mana, nirdosham he samam brahma, tasmad brahmani te sthita. Even in this life, they have conquered relative existence, whose minds are firmly fixed on the sameness of everything. For God is pure and same to all, and therefore such are said to be living in God. And with that, we have come to this wonderful lecture of Swami Vivekananda on this Advaita, Vedanta. Here when it says the lecture is called Vedanta, he talks about Advaita, but we have heard that earlier when he said Vedanta, it means all the three schools are part of what is Vedanta. Dvaita, Visishtadvat, Advaita, Advaita. All these classes that we have been going through, I normally put up the audio and the video in the courses embedded in there. So uh, you can listen to them, revise them, and again and again and again until these ideas seep in, uh, because it takes time to understand these ideas. Uh, it's better to go through one thing many times and get a good grasp of it than to read many, many things. So we have got about 10 minutes and open to anyone who has some questions, ideas, thoughts, whatever you got out of it, some feedback and comments. Please feel most welcome.
Swamiji,
Mm.
we have talked about Advaita about the last couple of weeks. Is it the ultimate of all the yogas we do? I mean, like today in chapter 42, Swamiji talks about different planes of intellectual and other things. Are there these bhakti yoga and gyan yoga and all these things?
So yogas are different paths to the same goal. Okay. So let's think about not from an objective philosophy or something. Look at yourself. The truth is within us. What we are aware of ourselves is our body and the mind, and some emotions and feelings and ego. What the scripture says that beyond all these three dimensions, the physical and the intellectual, is another spiritual dimension which is far superior to compared to all this. Not only that, if we can access that, we will feel that all those boundaries that separate us from others, they disappear and we feel that oneness. And ultimately, there is one infinite consciousness which is a substratum behind all of us. That has been the experience of the saints and sages. Now, when they come back and try to say, how do we achieve that? There come these four yogas. And these yogas are built on some inherent capacities that are embedded or part of how we are constituted. So, how we people act through hands, feel through hearts, think through heads. So these are the resources with which we deal with the world and our livelihood and everything. But the same tools that are available with us can be transformed into a spiritual tool to achieve that Atman nature. And so karma yoga is about action, work, but without attachment. So nishkam karma. That if we can do that, that prepares the mind to rise from the physical level to the high level. Bhakti is about emotions. We all have emotions. We feel love and affection for near and dear ones, our country, our pets, our car, house, everything. It's all through that comes an attachment. So that attachment is not bad. Can you transform it, give it a spiritual turn, and direct it to the divine? When emotion is directed towards the divine, it becomes devotion. That's called bhakti yoga. Jnana yoga, yes, we have this intellect, the power of reasoning, thinking, intellectualizing, discriminating, and all that with which we do wonderful things in this world. This 5 foot, 6 foot species called human being rules this planet because he has got a little bit more of this power compared to maybe other species. So, and we are doing wonderful things there. Can we use the same intellect and discriminate between the transitory and the permanent, the unreal and the real, and discard the transitory and seek the real? That path, the mind that has been trained to do that incessantly, constantly, that is the path of Jnana Yoga. So, these yogas are really channels through which we direct our efforts and energies in pursuit of that oneness behind all of us to discover that Atman nature. And of course, when we are not working, when we are not intellectualizing, we're not feeling, we just want to be in that absolute equilibrium and calmness in the center of the eye of the cyclone, where the whole cyclone and the world is whirling around, but at the center it's absolutely peaceful and blissful and calm. To find that center and that locus is the path of meditation. To be in the midst of activity and yet not feel the disturbance around you. So these four yogas are built on the faculties that are already inherent in us, but it's just giving it a spiritual turn. We're using these things for what worldly things, we can turn them around for our spiritual development also. And then all these planes that you talk about, of course, there's physical plane and the mental plane, the spiritual plane. The mind is like a radio. If it's tuned to a lower frequency, then it listens to that lower station. And if we can disconnect it and raise it to a higher frequency, then the lower station disappears and the upper one appears. And ultimately, the highest station, so to say, is the Atman and the Brahman. And so, to give up the lower one in pursuit of the higher one, that is called renunciation. It is not losing something in return of nothing. No, it's giving up of something lesser in search of something higher, giving up of the microcosm in search of the macrocosm, so to say. And so once that understanding has been developed, that the purpose of a human being, ultimate purpose for which we are coming into this world again and again and again, is to attain to that highest goal of oneness, and that how much effort we are putting into that pursuit in this lifetime, how much progress we are making, if we are mindful of all of that, then we do not frit away so much of our energy on unnecessary things. Basic minimum food, clothing, shelter is necessary. More than that, it's botheration. And we have that time and energy in pursuit of the higher things in life. But it's not just like internal energy. Swamiji brings it, says, okay, that pursuit is not like your own private life or you're meditating in the cave, in the mountain, but that oneness is present everywhere. The whole world is your own. So go out in the world. Don't say this is worldly and this is spiritual, this is secular and this is sacred. What is one. It's just that we have to cleanse the dirt from our glasses to see beyond the names and forms. And that is the test of Advaita. So, yes, you can be Advaitin, nice and calm and wonderful in a quiet place where no one is disturbing you. But when you go out in the world, how much you can maintain that balance and maintain that sameness, that is the test of it. So, yeah, these teachings have to be really meditated upon. We can take a paragraph daily and read one paragraph and say, I'll try to get through what Swamiji was trying to think about, teach. And it's like a meditation when we do, until those ideas get absorbed into our blood and become part of our whole being. Then something very nice and transformational will happen. We have to really actually work very hard to digest these ideas, to assimilate these ideas. But these are all, I suppose, starting points somewhere.
Thank you, Somji.
Yeah. Wherever we are, move forward. Wherever we are, we move forward. Tomorrow, next week, next month, next year we should feel we have gained, we have progressed. Otherwise, so we have to, like we come to end of the year, we take stock. What difference what has happened since last, in between from January? And if you feel that you have grown spiritually in understanding, in your knowledge, in your applying of these things, then that has been a good year. You can celebrate it. So, if anyone else has something to say, please feel free. Today we have somebody else joining us, Bruno. Bruno is somebody who contacted us today. He is in Wellington. Jyoti, Tara, Jasu. So, yeah, there is this young man, Bruno, is there in Wellington, and he contacted me today. Says, are there some people here? I can have some satsang and all that. So, Yeah, you can. He's part of the WhatsApp group. You can get in touch and introduce him to
Okay.
Camille and others. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that tomorrow. Get
Yeah.
in touch with him. Yeah.
So if you're all happy, now that we have finished this particular lecture, I can take up another nice lecture that sort of follows from this, and it's called One Existence Appearing as Many. It's Advaita, that one Atman appearing as many, and take that as our continuation for the next week.
That'll be great.
Yes,
Very nice.
thank you, Swamiji.
Yeah. But please read this. Don't think that we have read this and now these are things you have to read again and again and again. That's what we do. For this 30 years, we go back to them, and every time something else will stand out in a very nice way. Yes, Bruno.
Thank you, Swamiji, for allowing me to be here today. Where I can find this text to read?
Okay, so you're seeing this website, all right? You go to connect with us, go to courses, okay? And this will open this page for you.
Okay.
So you'll come to all the courses, and this is a study of Swami Vivekananda's lectures on Vedanta, okay? So they're part of some plans. You can join one of those membership plans there, what appeals to you. These are just for devotees, they're health professionals or youth or teachers or parents and all that. We're creating some different content for different people, but these courses are available in all of them. So you can just become a subscriber and you'll have access to the whole lot of them.
Can I say a word, Bruno? This is Tara. So we have a lot of books. You can come around and you can choose some and take some to read. But we'll be in touch. So you can come home and choose as many books as you want. We got lots of them.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Anything to say? No? Yes.
Swamiji, I just want to say thank you. It's been a really great course. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. You are the one who sparked the idea, so you see how we have benefited, all have benefited. Nice.
Thank you very much from Suman. I missed many of
So,
your classes, but yeah.
so Suman, if you go to this, if you go back to this particular course, you will find all the previous talks are in there. Right?
Yes,
And you can,
please.
in
Thank
your
you.
own leisure, go through them and revise them. I will embed the others also. So, like for example, in here, the earlier lesson you see, the audio is there, the video is there, like this. Try to make it useful for everyone. And of course, you can listen to it in your own language of choice. Let us conclude here today. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu